Well, I've come up north near Andreas actually to what is the donkey track. With me is Richard. We know well, talking about green lanes in the past. Brian's also joining as a concerned resident around this area. You flagged this one to me. There's nothing much you can see. I mean, you'll be wondering what on earth we're talking about. You can see these sort of benches here going in, and we've been up just on a little mound, and you can see a sign saying private and all that sort of thing. Yeah. This is doing what then? What's your point? Where is it concerning you?
Right. This track, called the donkey track, or officially U72, used to be used by two cottages which are now derelict halfway along it, and they would use a donkey or a pack horse to go to Andreas Market or Ramsey Market about once a week, and that's what it was used for, and that's why it got this name, the donkey track. Now, they died about 100 years ago, and the track fell into disrepair and became completely overgrown by willow and brambles and things like that. Now, the Manx Four-Wheel Drive Club heard about this, came up and inspected it, and they persuaded the DOI to start work opening it up again, because they wanted to open it up. For whatever reason, they have their agenda, right? And there is a lot of concern about, if four-wheel drives are allowed to use this track and motorbikes, that it will be destroyed. And it was never intended for that, because it has a very soft, muddy surface which becomes waterlogged for large times of the year in the middle, because it's low ground. Now, there is an inquiry starting next week on Tuesday into the legalities of opening this track, because the Manx Four-Wheel Drive Club want to do that and make it available for their use. They're not opening it as a bridle path or a footpath. If that's all it was intended to do, then they wouldn't be interested in it. Their interest is being able to use it.
Okay, so this inquiry coming up, so we've got to be obviously careful, but people can put information forward, can they? You can say things, or what sort of inquiry are you going to get?
Well, it starts next Tuesday. I think the closing date has gone for submissions, right. Yeah. But I'm planning to give evidence, photographic evidence, next Tuesday as to why I believe that there is no reason for opening this track. All it will be used for is joyriding in 4x4s.
And Brian, your concerns?
Yes, I'm of the same opinion. I mean, I've travelled around this area all my life, and this little track that links the Benahera Road through to the St Jude's Andreas Road has never been open in my lifetime. It's become what I would class now as a wildlife corridor, and it would be a shame to just have it opened up for the pleasures of people with motor vehicles. They'll say that it's also for walkers and for horses, but really, in the day and age that we're in now, with climate change and the environment and everything else, this should really be retained as a wildlife corridor and left as it is.
Well, what you can't see from this level, and that's why we just went up the bank, and I don't think we passed anyone's sort of privacy points there, but there's a big sign saying private property.
Yes.
So that makes it doesn't sound like it's a public thing. So are we talking about a real legal issue going on here then?
This is a legal issue. Now, the Manx Four-Wheel Drive Club have asserted that it's a public roadway maintainable at public expense, and at some point in the past money was spent on it, therefore it is available for use, and that's why they have become interested in it, and they want to open it all up and clear it. Now, it bears no moral responsibility to open up an old track like this and just drive along it.
Sure. I mean, what would you like? If it is private, then it's someone's land now, or would you like it to be just a rambling area that you could just walk along if you could?
If it was turned into a footpath, then I think there'd be a lot more public interest, or a bridle path, but that's not the purpose of this.
And you've mentioned four-wheel drives, but when you have a footpath, you can also have cyclists or motorbikes or anything like that, which is you're not fans of, are you?
Well, I'm okay with them as long as they don't destroy what they're riding on. Yeah. Now, this track is 0.68 of a mile long. It connects the Benahera Road to the St Jude's
Andreas Road.
Road. We're a mile south of Andreas now. That's where this is located. It's only 0.68 of a mile long. It connects 2 roadways. There is no strategic advantage or purpose in opening it except for use with vehicles.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, you're pretty confident. I think lawyers are involved in this, aren't they? So,
yes,
obviously, without touching on this too much, but do you think it will?
Yeah, well, without saying too much, really,
prejudice anything.
There has been a legal case established by the late Mr. Hemmings, who sadly passed away very recently.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that Mr. Hemmings and his representatives will be making a strong case, and I think that's where the dispute lies now over the legality of the ownership of this strip of land that's been known as the donkey path.
I think it would help to explain that Mr. Hemmings owns the land all around it. We're not sure if he owns the track itself, but we're going to check that. But he owns all the land around it, and he has put in strong objections in the past about opening this up. He wants it just to be left as it is, which would be the best for this particular case. Just leave it.
Well, particularly for wildlife. I mean, we're in a very rural part of the island here. It's a beautiful piece of landscape, and just to open this up for the pleasure of people with their off-road vehicles, to me,
I think just a general concern people have, if there's so many potholes in the Isle of Man, having money deferred to this sort of thing, it doesn't seem maybe the best use of funds, but we'll find out in this thing. Before you go, how are you doing with the rest of the greenways? Because I haven't talked to you for many years. It seems like many years. Are you still on that one? Still on the campaign?
Yeah, I'm still pushing that forward, but there's very little.
Got a new minister now, though, haven't you?
We've got a new minister now. I've taken 3 ministers up to see the worst of the tracks in the uplands, and they have all expressed concern, but they've gone home and done absolutely nothing.
Okay, what's it like since we last went? I can't remember how many years ago now. I mean, it was obviously in quite a rough area, and it was also been a lot of rain and deterioration. Is it better or worse than when we last looked at it?
Well, it depends which track you're considering. I mean, I walked up the Balacob yesterday and wanted to go onto the Slough link, but I ran out of daylight. Now, COVID, I think, has had a
beneficial.
A beneficial effect. There's obviously been not much traffic up there in the last year and a half, 2 years, as there was, and there's a small amount of recoveries happened on some of them.
Do you think people are more responsible then as well? I mean, do you think people are taking note of not ripping it up?
There might be an air of responsibility coming in. A change of thinking. Yeah. I need to talk to various people to find out exactly what's going on. Some maintenance has been done on the Balacob. Now, I don't know if that's by the DOI or by the people who've been using it. I suspect it's by the DOI.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on this anyway for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, if people want more information about this, where would they go? Can they go to Is it a publicly held inquiry?
I think it's a public inquiry. Yes, it's actually held in the Eye Museum.
And that's Tuesday.
Starts at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. It'll run for at least 3 days, possibly a bit longer.
Well, we'll keep an eye on this story and see what happens next.
Yeah.